Hello, everyone, and you're welcome to another exciting episode of Moments with the Shepherd. My name is Tobi. We're excited you're here, and we're glad that you've taken some time out to spend with the Shepherd today. Today, we'll be having a conversation on something that is very important to the church and to everybody in the church as an individual: music. When you go to church, obviously, you're going to sing, you're going to praise, you're going to offer thanksgiving. So today I'm joined by someone who is an instrumentalist, and his story, the conversation we're going to have, is key to understanding how music works in church, in his relation with the fellow singers and to the congregants in general. Today I'm joined by Testimony. Hi, Testimony.
Hi, Tobi.
So please introduce yourself to us.
Okay.
Tell us your name and what you do, all of that.
Okay, my name is Testimony Aojola. I would say I'm an internal auditor, but what I do more is in terms of helping companies with their policy, making sure that there are proper structures in place to help mitigate risks. Let's say more of internal controls that help guide the general complaint generally. So, and yeah, that's what pretty I've been doing for a while. Would I say a while is, let's say 4 years. Let's say
4 years is a while.
So yeah, but it has been a great journey actually. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, do you know outside of you being a keyboardist, I didn't know you're an auditor.
Now you know.
So I want you to take us through your journey as a keyboardist. I want to believe that you started from early on.
Okay.
So how early did you start?
I would say I started. I initially started as a drummer, and that started pretty early. Let's say around 8, 9, yeah, thereabout. But that 8, 9, you are not full. you're just trying what you can do on the drum. So, but I would say professionally around 12 when I was 12 years old. Yeah.
So you said you started with drums.
With drums, yes.
Why did you choose the keyboard over drums?
Okay, so by the time I started playing the keyboard, by the time I wanted to learn the keyboard, they were not available. No one available to actually train. Because of how peculiar the keyboard is, it requires a whole lot of explanations. You won't having to know so many things, and you need a proper teacher to do that. So the drums was quite easier for me because as a band player in school, it was easier for me to quickly pick it up. So I started with that. Started learning. And I remember the training. I traveled to Ibadan, and I remember they did a concert in one of the churches I attended. It was like a week's training, and then at the end of the training, we would do like a show what we've learned throughout that week, and that pretty much what we did. After that, that was where the whole journey started for me.
This was how long ago?
Let's say maybe 12, 13 years ago. Because, yeah. I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
This was how long since how long from the time that you first started, or from the time you knew you wanted to play keyboard?
So, I initially wanted to learn keyboard. Okay. That was my first instrument. But when it's not available, you pick what is available. So I started with the drum. But
if it wasn't available, how did you know you wanted to play the keyboard?
I'd always liked it. So I would say I wanted to learn the keyboard. And that was because when I was very young, when I was, let's say, 6, 7, 8, thereabouts, there's this TV station on DSTV called One Gospel. One Gospel was one of the foremost African gospel music channel on DSTV. I woke up to listen to jazz music, South African music, because that was what was more trending on that station. So, and I'd always loved how they played. So that's always been what I like. I'd always liked hymns. I'd always liked to understand why on an organ will have up to 4 layers with different pedals. How does this work? I also wanted to learn it, but when there was not one available to actually explain how to play it, I had to pick the drums. So, and that was how it started. So let's say a year after when it was the learning was not so straight, I had to pick what I knew that at least I could try my hands on, and that's how the journey started for me. So, yeah, that's how the journey started.
Okay, so when you were learning, did you? I don't know if I should phrase it and ask if you had like supportive parents from the onset, because I know your dad holds a high position in the Baptist organization in Lagos. Did you grow up into a Christian home, and were your parents supportive of you wanting to learn the keyboard?
I think as a pastor's child, I think it's
So you've always been a pastor's child?
I've always been.
I see.
Let me tell you how pastor's child I am. I was born in the seminary, so so that's how pastor I am. So yeah, my parents have been very supportive, very, very supportive. I'll tell you how supportive they are. Especially when I started playing the drums, there were days I would play and I would ask my mom, "Mama, how did I do today?" She said, "You tried, but you were." I would ask my dad, he would be like, try. You know how fathers can be, but mom. But generally, they were very, very supportive. I had very good support from them. Yeah, very, very good support from both of them. When I was learning, when I had to, with the encouragement, trying to talk to people and say, okay, how can I do this? How can I do that? Yeah, very, very supportive. So they were both very supportive in my journey starting together.
Okay, now that I know that you grew up being a pastor's child and you were born in a seminary, on one of our previous episodes, we had a conversation with a pastor's child.
Okay.
So let's just do a little digression and tell me about like your experience growing up as a pastor's child, the expectations, the pressure. Were you the only child? Were there people you had that you looked up to? You know, how did you navigate growing up as a pastor's child?
I tell people that being a pastor's child is a privilege. Yeah, I know that there have always been so many tags on it and saying this and that. Yeah, but it was a lot of journey that I would always look back to and be grateful to. With a lot of ups and downs, and I saw how God can come true for you as a child. It's especially in a home whereby you have to accommodate as many people as you want to.
Right.
For instance, I didn't grow up to only be the only son. Let's say to be the only child at home. I have a brother, but we had a full house, a house of let's say up to 6 people, 6 to 8, but always in and out. So it's a house where I was not only alone. I could look up to so many people to learn, make mistakes, and they would say, "Oh no, this is not how to do." So I had always had people who were there to help shape. So it's a journey I'd love to appreciate now. Then not really, because you had a lot of expectations. People would always tell you, "You're a child, you're a pastor." But I would say it's a journey I really learned. Now, looking back to it, then I would say, but now I would always appreciate it. Because some of the things I do now and some of the things I have learned now were from those childhood. And it's honestly, yes, it's an amazing experience. I've seen, like I said, God come true. I've seen we go from low, high. I've seen times whereby things move very fast. I've enjoyed grace, I would say. I've enjoyed so much grace. And it's a privilege I will not trade away. Yeah. So
that's an interesting digress. So coming back to you being an instrumentalist and playing an instrument, do you remember the first time that you played the organ in the church, and how did you feel?
So the first time I played the keyboard in church, I would say it was a night video, and this is what happened. Then I was not so great. I would say how I learned or how I started playing was basically watching how others people play. So let's say during service, people played. The main church keyboardist was playing. Instead of me paying attention to singing and praising God, I am very fixated on seeing his hands. Then I borrow my parents' phone to record him play. And after service, I'll beg the sound engineer, please don't switch off the lights so I can quickly learn. So that was actually a very rough way to start, especially for anyone who knows how best to learn the keyboard. Learning that way was I would like to say the shortcut to shortcuts, which is not supposed to be. So I was always recording, then go back to learning it and trying. I kept on doing that until a particular Friday, the main church keyboardist was not around and he had to go for another program. Lo and behold, we had, let's say, then in my former church, we had close to 4 people who played keyboard.
Oh.
So, and those 4 they were very good. They were very good. So, lo and behold, they were all not around. Funny enough, we were all not around. I think 2 were on service. The main church keyboardist had to go for a program which was on an emergency, and I was there. Only me. The boy who had not, I don't know so much then. So my commissioner was like, trying to call different people. And I woke up and said, I can try. She did try. Okay.
Did she know you could play the keyboard before then?
She knew, but
she was not confident.
Who would want to? So, yeah, I did that.
But how big was the church?
Yeah, let's say up to 600 to 700 people.
Wow, that's a lot.
600 to 700 people. So, yeah.
So were there like 600, 700 people at the vigil that night?
You know how vigils are now. You can't have...
Okay, so you played to like a section of those people. And how did you... At the end of the day, what did the woman say? Did she say you did well? She managed
for my expression, you would know.
She managed it with Jesus' joy.
I did my best, honestly. I think that really helped me. If I look back, I tell you that video was still... I was receiving... No! I think that video was one of the... That really... I must take this very serious. Because from the feedback, someone said, you tried, but... You say, please don't touch the keyboard again, but you tried.
What do you mean you tried, but don't touch the keyboard again?
So, but yeah, let's say that.
But the feedback that you got from that time, how did you put it to be a better keyboardist?
So, for the fact I tried, and I didn't have a teacher, pushed me to say, if I can try, then learning it fully means I can come up with something. So that's how I started.
Oh, wow. That's that's something.
I know so many people deals well with it because the musical instrument requires a whole lot of dedication and years of practice and frequent practice. So I know people who picked it up and with no matter the whatever happened, they leave it like that. But if I could try, then I can go ahead. So
did you get a teacher after that? Or you just continued teaching yourself?
So I would say the best teacher I had, the most wonderful teacher I had, I don't know what adjective to define it again, was YouTube. YouTube was my best friend.
YouTube University.
YouTube was my best friend. So after a while, I would say so many things were not so clear to me. So I had a pastor, one of our church members who is a music pastor. He went to theology, also knows music. Most times when I don't understand what I go to meet him and say, sir, I don't understand it. So he was the one who helped see he left. So sometimes when I have questions, I go to meet him. But I would say my learning journey has been through videos, watching people play, listening to a lot of music, I would also say most times picking each song per week to try to see what I can do. So that's how been my learning journey so far.
Yeah. I mean, that's really inspiring that you basically are self-taught for like 70% of it.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not sure I could ever do that. I think it's one thing to want to do something, and it's another thing to have not just the passion, the dedication, and the doggedness to actually do it and teach yourself.
I would also say, I think I also say that something I do now was from a very good friend of mine too in school, and he was also a very big change. I'm always proud to call him. No matter how close, I always say he's a mentor to me because he started the keyboard quite early. If I can exaggerate, maybe from the womb self. Even though, he learned very early. And he's also a pastor's child. And he also lived in seminary.
Wow.
Having white people teaching the keyboard with a lot of, we know how far. He's somebody that I can boldly say can play all the hymns all the Baptist hymns without looking at the sheet, because he grew up to be in that environment. But he was a changing factor to me, and he was the one who changed how I saw the keyboard and what I do now. Definitely he was the one, and I always respect. Yeah.
Oh wow! So he served as an influence for you.
Yes, he's hard.
You're like, if he could do it, you can also do it.
This is how I did, because I've learned to. All my years of learning has always been watching people play, listening to people play. So the best what I did was, for my 100 level, every time he plays, my phone is always on the speaker recording what he plays. So at some point in school, some people tell me, you're playing like him. I'll say, that's the only person I listen to now. So why would I sound like him? So,
right.
Yeah, basically that.
Okay, so now to a bigger scale. You now play in the church.
Yeah.
And obviously you like work with the choir and maybe soloist and everything and all of them. So how would you say that working with the choristers in the church has been? Because one thing that comes up in conversations is how there can be like quite a disagreement between instrumentalist and, let's say, soloist for now.
Okay.
Like the soloist wants to sing something and you, the instrumentalist, you're saying, no, that's not going to work. This is what should work. But the soloist is saying, no, this is what they want. So how do you walk through that blend, or I don't know how to put it?
I would say, yes, it is. It happened. I think that would always come up between a musician or an instrumentalist with a soloist. And I also say generally choir. Most times, I would say for a church, a soloist listens more to, would always want to listen to every single details that keys them into the song. And for instance, I always tell them, we can't do everything. We can't do everything. So, and that will always be that will always come up every time. Always come up. So that disagreement is always there. And what I've learned over the years is, and I think it's particularly what I do most times, is replicate as much as I can replicate to a song. Whether it is copyright, whether it is composed, learn, do as much as I can do. Have conversations. Okay, this is how we do it, And that's where the point of rehearsal comes in. You can't have a ministration or a performance without rehearsals, no matter how emergency, even if it's short or not. That's how best we can resolve issues that come up. It will always happen, But the best way I've come to learn is having adequate rehearsals, whereby you can sort out whatever differences is in the music. That's the best place to really sort it out. I think professional as a choir for choirs, it's best to have a very good rehearsal. By the time you have a good rehearsal, I would say you've solved 85% of what you have on that Sunday. Whatever that happens can be life mistakes. Let's say sometimes come up, but the best to resolve issues with a soloist is rehearsals. That's where you know the mind of the singer. Say, okay, I heard this in the music. Can you key me in with this? Can you do it? I say, okay, yes, we can do it. That's the best way. So I've come to learn that having rehearsals is definitely the best way to really resolving that.
Okay. So my question now is that have there ever been a time where you had probably like an issue with maybe the person that you're working with, maybe a fellow instrumentalist or a chorister, and it escalated? Maybe you were unable to resolve it.
I would say no. No, I would say no. I think, yes, normal for us to disagree. Musicians will always disagree because because of the peculiarity of our instrument and how different it is. It sometimes causes argument. So, but one thing I've learned is we always resolve it. Even from when I started, one key thing I've always owed to is resolve whatever you want to resolve in a rehearsal. Do not allow it. I can tell you, as a band, we are connected. So if there is if there's a quarrel between two musicians, or I'll tell you to show in the music. Definitely show in the music. So the best way we solve, I've not had encounters whereby it's escalated and then we can't really control. No, I think when I will have a disagreement, I try my possible best to resolve it at that point. Let's say whether 70% or 80%, but it doesn't escalate to where it can be controlled. Yeah.
Ah, great. So, from saying that you try to resolve issues, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say controversy exactly, but people hold that opinion that instrumentalists, when they come to church, they just come to play instruments. They don't listen to the sermon. They don't take part in anything else. Their own is to just play the instrument. So how will you help us understand that playing instruments is a service to God? And how do you change people's perception about instrumentalists just being instrumentalists and not actually being part of the service, especially keyboardists?
I would say, yes, it's something that people talk about, and I think it's true to a very large extent.
Really?
Yeah, it is. I would I would not say it's not true because a lot of indices show that. But one thing I've learned is, and I think I learned that from when I was quite young and experienced people I've seen around, is they are very involved in service. Let's say my former church, they were all involved. Every single musician in church then were one way or the other leaders in church. Either the youth leader, the youth executive. They were very involved. So that example alone has taught me that you can be an instrumentalist and also be very, very involved. Be very, very involved. I've also come to learn that your instrument is not, you being a musician is not just to play. You are part of the service. You are part of the service. And like I say, your music what you play should interpret, should You should really interpret what carry so much emotions. I've come to learn that playing is not just playing. You are not just the music is a very strong part of whatever service it may be. So I would say I've come to learn that you should be very involved. And yes, you carry a lot of, as musicians, you carry a whole lot of, you should see yourself as a minister. I see myself as a minister. I see myself as someone who is passing a message to people, and you are more involved in the service. So as much as possible, key yourself into the service. Key yourself, be in the service. I've seen great examples of people who played, and people would always say, what you play this service. I've played before, and I've had several encounters where I played something from blues, played something from nowhere, and the minister had created a full song, and he told me,
wow,
what you played. And that's because I've learned that you are not just a musician. You are all a minister. And a very great example is David. We all know. So
David in the Bible.
Yes, in the Bible. Okay. So I think it's best. So I see myself as a minister, and I encourage my people to always be. And that also shows from how your spiritual growth comes from. So if you take your spiritual growth from, I tell you to always flow into how you play and how you see things. You don't just play. Yeah. So
okay. Thank you. That's actually a very interesting point that you have made, because I mean, like I said when I asked the question, a lot of people will say that instrumentalists are not a part of the service, and yeah, I think this should provide like a fresh perspective on how instrumentalists can actually be active during service and not just focus on playing the instrument. So I have one last question before we go. I'm not going to ask you to advise people that are that want to learn an instrument, because I mean, you've basically said everything that you learned by yourself, and then you went on YouTube, did all of that. There's materials everywhere to learn from. So my last question is a little controversial, but it must be asked. People hold the opinion that the church should not pay instrumentalists for when they play.
Amazing.
So where do you stand on the spectrum of the argument?
I would say, how best can I say this? So for me, I've not been a paid musician all my life. I would say, when you mean paid in church, I mean the church puts you on a salary scale and pays. No, I have never been, and I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I understand people's perspective about it, but I would say pay the musician.
Should pay the musician.
Pay the musician. And I will tell you that there's a whole lot that goes into music.
Okay.
There's a whole lot. And I think because people are only exposed to, I think it's because it's just only to some parts. There's always been known that it's only musicians that have been paid. I will tell you that there are places whereby they pay more. they even pay the singers.
So so are you saying that you should be more concerned about the money than your service to God?
So I would say my consecration is different from any other person's consecration.
True. Right. That's right.
So for me, I'd always told myself I would never.
Okay.
I would never.
What informed that?
I would say from my mentor.
Okay.
And I would have loved to share the particular point he told me, but but what I would just say is it's a consecration for me, and I would definitely tell you that consecration I've enjoyed a whole lot. And I will tell you, I've been to places where I would not have imagined I would have been, but because of that consecration. So I would say I've enjoyed that grace, but doesn't mean someone who gets paid doesn't have to enjoy that grace. So it's a 50-50. If you pay it, I'm not someone that is against it. I will always support it. It's a full-time job for some people. That's what some people feed on. Sure. I think people don't understand how it is to be a musician, but it comes with so many things. So I would say I'm not totally against it, but my consecration has always been serve as much as I can serve, be a blessing to wherever I am, put my 100% in whatever I do, and definitely. So, yeah.
Okay, so to piggyback on that question, just quickly, do you play outside of the church? Maybe at a party or
very rare, very.
So strictly church.
I would say I also record. I do studio records.
Okay.
I also do some production.
But all gospel.
Yes, all gospel. I'm not a secular.
Not in any way. You don't even you don't play with a band that's like a party, a wedding, nothing.
I've tried it, but that's not my way.
It wasn't working for you.
It's not my way. I would say because of how I learned music. Honestly, I think that really shaped how I like music. I would say a very big example of how I like music is Nathalie Bassi. I like music very, very cool. But with live bands and party, you have to. There's so many things that come with it. So for me, I would say the four corners of the church, and or let's say, we like call it Christian areas or something. Yeah. So basically that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Testimony, for coming on Moments with the Shepherd. You have provided us with a lot more insight into what it is to be a Christian and an instrumentalist or a musician, basically. Thank you so much once again for joining us on this episode. And I hope that you have learned one or two things. And also, I hope we have been able to help you to understand that although you play something in the church, you're an instrumentalist, you're a musician, it also does not stop your service to God. And you can be useful in the kingdom of God alongside what you do in church. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tobi, and I hope to see you on the next episode. If you have enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe, and let us know in the comments the favorite part of this episode for you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.